Hey guys, welcome back to part 2 of Zero's origin story. I just posted the first one a little bit ago. Let's get started. I'm just read the last part we left off on if you don't remember. She walked across the campus tripping on the steps of the short stairs when she saw two figures walk towards her. So, here we go. She looked at the ground, watching the concrete move under her feet. As she walked, a foot blocked her steps, tripping Alice onto the hard concrete floor. Her hand and elbow stopped her fall mostly, but sent her notebooks and sketchbook flying in front of her. Red-faced with embarrassment, she squirmed onto her knees and grabbing the books in a panic. Laughing burst everywhere around her, her face turning into a deep red. Sure, now people notice me, she thought to herself. As she grabbed the last notebook, she felt something hit the back of her head. Brown liquid jumped in every direction, chocolate milk dripping off her bangs and onto her face. She froze. Something tugged at the back of her mind. She felt her blood boil with rage until she just snapped. Dropping everything, she got up, spun around, and ran towards one of the figures that had tripped her. The tall boy's eyes opened in shock as Alice's foot hit him in the gut. Reaching into his rib cage, he fell back, wheezing, coughing up blood. As he sat on the concrete, hugging his stomach, her knee rammed into the side of his head. He coughed up more crimson. When Alice grabbed his leg with her foot and with let me read that part again. Alice grabbed his leg and with her foot broke it. A loud crack echoed against the brick walls of the school. She went for his arm when she saw the second figure run towards her. She dodged his punch, slamming her elbow into his back, sending his body towards the concrete. The short boy quickly spun up around Alice, sitting atop his stomach, punching his damaged face over and over and over until you could see blood pour from his nose and mouth. He struggled to stop her, but was too weak. He had no choice but to just take each and every blow. "Alice, stop!" she heard someone yell, running towards the scene. She looked up and positioned for another punch, but stopped when she saw the horrified look on everyone's faces, including Anne's. She snapped out of whatever terrible phase she had entered and looked down at her bloody knuckles and mangled face of the boy. "What did I do? This isn't me. I didn't do this. At least I didn't mean to," she thought, tears filling her eyes. She quickly stood up, backing away from the two mangled victims, and ran off school grounds toward the forest. She ran to her bedroom, rummaging through the cabinets, searching for medicine to clean the wounds she had caused herself. She poured the alcohol onto the cuts and used to wash off the blood. She watched the small white bubbles foam inside each cut on her hands and her elbow. Once she had bandaged her wounds, she rested her hands on the counter and stared at herself in the bathroom mirror. "What did I just do? Did I snap? Had I done this before?" she whispered to herself, questions swimming around in her head. "Oh no. Of course not. I just had to protect you," her mouth answered using her own voice. Alice jumped back, eyes widened, face pale. Her reflection just spoke to her. "What? Who are you?" she asked, shaking. After a long pause, the raspy voice finally spoke once more. "I am your best friend. Don't you remember me? Said her lips. Tears ran down her warm cheeks. Her head began to pound as she fell to the ground, grasping her head, screaming. The voice was inside her. The voice was inside her head, screaming the same phrase over and over again. Don't you remember me, Alice? I'm your best friend. Your only friend. The next few weeks, the voice did not return. But Alice did not return to the girl she once was. She became violent, angry at almost everything, had violent fits or laughter out of nowhere, and often fought or stole from others. It was strange. She felt as if her mind was replaced with someone else's. And, of course, after being expelled, she had no choice but to stay in her room, not eating, not talking, completely void of any interaction. This continued for many months until her migraines, became worse. Her head pounded against her skull until she screamed and cried, begging for it to stop. She couldn't go to a doctor or a therapist. They would surely call her insane and put her in an asylum. She couldn't let that happen. Then one day, after a particular violent drunk outburst from Mr. Rogers that left her with cuts over her arms, as she sobbed, her mind pounding against its chamber, she began to feel weaker and weaker until her vision went black. When she woke up, she found herself lying on the floor of her bedroom. Her muscles ached as if they were torn apart, only to be slowly sewn together. She got up, headache gone, but extremely tired and hungry. She walked downstairs, stumbling towards the kitchen, violently opening the fridge door. Nothing. It was almost completely bare. Sighing, she pulled on her hoodie and slipping her black Converse and walked out the door. I'm sorry, this is all we have for right now. My mom's calling me.